Welcome back. With us now for what's happening in the news and how that's affecting the economy and the financial markets is Stephen Skanke, and he's the Chief Economic Advisor at Keel Point and a former staff member for the White House National Security Council. Stephen, welcome to Newswatch.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here.
Yeah, appreciate your time. The Democrats' impeachment efforts, of course, are dominating much of the headlines. Do you think that's actually having much of an effect on the stock market?
Probably not very much. It creates some amount of uncertainty, but the recent survey of consumer sentiment showed that it's only about a 3% drag, which is behind a 5% drag on the GM strike and a 30% drag on trade issues. So at the end of the day, not a big impact.
Okay. Well, the Federal Reserve has already cut interest rates to help prevent a recession. Will they do it again, and do you think that's necessary?
Yes, they will do it again, and whether it's necessary is a big argument, even among Federal Reserve board members. They have a meeting coming up next week. The question is whether they'll do it at their meeting next week or mid-December. At the moment, it looks like it actually could happen next week, so they get ahead of the declining earnings reports for this quarter and also for the expected lower GDP growth, which would be announced next week.
The stock market is very close to all-time highs. Do you think we're going to see new record highs before the end of the year?
Absolutely, I do. With earnings the way they are and a good outlook for the rest of the year, and especially if we get positive news on reducing the trade tensions with China. If there's some outline of a deal that gets announced, I think we'll see the stock market rally on that news.
Earlier in the show, we talked about San Francisco's travel ban. What would happen if this idea spread and other cities or states, they impose their own travel bans or they stop buying goods and services from states that they don't agree with? What would you say could be the economic impact of that if bans like that would spread across the country?
Sure. It has a negative impact both on the states that impose the ban and in the states on which the ban is imposed. It just reduces trade, which means that someone is paying a higher price than they would otherwise by not going to the original location for the reason that invited them, usually lower prices.
There's also a lot of talk about breaking up big tech companies like Facebook, Google, others. Will that happen? Is it a good idea? How's it going to affect customers? Break it down for us.
Well, I do think that it will happen. We see bipartisan support, both Democrats and Republicans in the Congress, who are concerned about the size of big tech. And the fact that they've had Facebook up before the Congress repeatedly. They're looking at them closely. The Federal Trade Commission has levied penalties. There's a general sense that they've just gotten too big and they haven't been particularly good corporate citizens. So something is going to happen. It's just a matter of when and what. I think it's probably fair to say that if a Democrat president wins next November, it'll probably come sooner and it'll probably be more restrictive